The next speaker is Jerry Prus. He's a former military officer and he's a currently practicing barrister. He's been practicing law for more than 40 years. He has one of the most strategical minds I've ever spoken to, an absolute genius. He has seen government corruption. He's prosecuted corrupt agents. And he's here to have a chat with us today via the phone. We've got a nice big crowd here today, Jerry, in Brisbane, and we're just going through some of the government corruption that has been observed in this country. And I've introduced you as the former military officer that's seen some very interesting things in his time with the military, and also currently practicing barrister for more than 4 decades. And through that professional life of yours, you've also seen some very interesting things. I'd just like to invite you to speak to the crowd today that's here and share with them some of your observations and where you think this is going and how we as people can start pushing back against this obviously corrupt government.
Okay, am I connected now?
Yeah, mate, you are.
All right, well, look, first of all, whoever's out there, I'm not sure, I can't see you, but I'm told there's a huge number of people. It's good afternoon to all. And I'm sorry that I couldn't join you there today, but I've got some health issues, so I couldn't travel to get up there. But look, I've been involved with Tristan and some of the other freedom groups since the start of, well, even before, of the vaccination issues that came up and the pandemic, the so-called vaccination pandemic. And I'd worked through numerous cases involving citizens being assaulted and, charged wrongly and harmed by the establishment authorities. And over the last several years, we can now see, especially now, we're in a stage now that although we've gone over COVID, Paris is burning right now. There is riots there. The police are running for cover. They're being hit with Molotov cocktails. Police cars are being smashed. London is on fire effectively too. Even the king now wants the prime minister to step down. The position in England is falling apart. UK, Britain is falling apart. The Commonwealth countries like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and Britain, all of those countries are now have been assessed as being in significant social and economic decline. What that means is it's going to be harder and harder for all of us to live and survive. And what this history has been is that for the last millennia, effectively, we've elected these people to take control. And I can't think of any one of these people that have ever turned out to be ultimately honest and have done the right thing for the public. So what we've done is we've given away our responsibility to ensure that our environment where we live is safe, productive, and healthy. We've given them to poor quality actors who don't know what they're doing and usually are very corrupt and rip the system off and disregard the people that they are working for. How do you deal with that issue? You don't keep running and joining political parties and trying to do all that, because that's the system that's been set up to keep a small group of people in control over the rest of you. And if you're out of control, out come the police. Okay, now we've seen this. Now, one of the more memorable cases that I've recently was lead counsel in is the matter of Nick Patterson and Adam Rube in Victoria that was dealt with recently. And we had a win. We had a win because the people who are abusing the system are blatant in what they're doing. For instance, in that case, the police assaulted people without good cause. And then when they charged them, of course, and Patterson and others were injured, but their body video cameras were on. And when they had to prepare the prosecution case, they swore up to false information, which was clearly contradicted by the video cameras that they were wearing on their own bodies. So they are so blatant now, they don't give a damn whether they're lying, not lying. They believe they can just do whatever they want and they can get away with it. And now we're facing more problems. There's more so-called police killers and shooters and people on the run. And this is effectively a psyops. I don't doubt that a couple of police officers have been killed, and wrongly potentially, but it seems to be an engineered process where they're setting this up to harden down on the public and give themselves more power. Now you've got something like 450 police officers running around the bushes trying to find a needle in a haystack. How much is that costing the public of Victoria? And plus, they've brought in the army. And what is going to be the ultimate goal? Ultimately, if they find this guy, they will shoot him. They're not likely to negotiate with him. They will kill him because he's considered to be armed and dangerous. Whatever the truth of that is, I don't know, and it may eventually come out in coronial inquests when things are properly tested. But at this stage, there's a guy in New Zealand that was recently shot. We've had people in Queensland that have been shot in similar circumstances. Now we've got this Desi Freeman individual in Victoria. And when you look at the overall map, the totality of it, there is a pattern. There is a pattern. People who disagree with governments, who are testing them and even take them to court, are considered then to be this new nickname, sovereign citizens, which is in its own an oxymoron. You can't be a citizen, and at the same time, you can't be sovereign. They're just the opposites. A citizen is a subject of the state. A sovereign is the person who is not subject to a state. But it's been labeled that way deliberately, and everybody who doesn't agree with the system is a conspiracy theorist. And now the painting of the public is this, that if you don't agree with the government, therefore you are a sovereign citizen, therefore you're a conspiracy theorist, therefore you're a domestic terrorist, and they must wipe you out. And this is where this is heading. And ultimately, this is changing in other countries. Right now, the police are running for cover in Paris, in London, in many parts of America. And the reality is that we have to take responsibility for our own environment where we live. We cannot just hand over our responsibilities to idiots who call themselves governments to govern us because they're incompetent, incapable, and in most instances, they're corrupt. They use the system to better themselves. So ultimately, what everyone needs to be doing is become much more involved in the running of their own environment, whether it's weather or climate, whether it's rubbish removal, whether it's policing, whether it's looking after disasters. We all need to become volunteers in the system, and we need to start to make sure that we look after our environment, not hand it over to other people. Because history has shown now that all these other people have disappointed us. If you can think of anyone in government in history that you think did a good job and actually served society, please tell me, and we will honor them. But I can't think of anyone. So you can either continue going the way you are going and just succumb to what they do and cower and hide and, speak politically correct, because if you don't, then you'll be deemed to be a sovereign citizen and then subject to some form of an attack. And one of the other things that seems to be right, if you try to go off the grid and go hide and live in some farm away from society, they're going to come and take you out. They're going to find some reason to say that you're armed and dangerous, and they're going to waste you. And this is what the pattern is coming out like. This pattern has been seen in the United States. It's been seen in Canada. It's been seen in New Zealand. It's seen here. And it's increasing. Ultimately, the responsibility rests with each and every person who is a citizen of this country or who lives in this environment to ensure the safety, security, economic success of their own environment. You can't trust it to these other people any longer. Now, it's not an easy process to change the way things are working, but you can change it by becoming more involved even in your local councils. Don't allow these local councils to run rampant and do all kinds of waste of monies and create rules that you don't want to, that are not user-friendly. Become involved in your local councils. Become involved in the state parliament. Become involved. You can attend all parliamentary hearings if you want to, and you can voice your opinions. And the other thing that you can do is if your representative that you supposedly voted for or others voted for and it got past the line, you can challenge him if you have no confidence in him. If you have enough people in the electorate of any particular member of parliament, and if you get enough people to sign up that they have no confidence in that member, he no longer has a mandate to be your representative. Think about that. I've explained all this to Tristan. There is ways, but it requires hard work. So if you're ready for hard work, you may be able to improve things. If it's all too hard and you don't want to do anything, well, just leave it and it'll get worse. So that's really where we're at. The establishment, go right through history, through Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Britain. Look what's happened. In every one of those places, government is proved to be corrupt, and the benefit that should be going to the public is being abused by the system. The choices are yours. I think Tristan, amongst several other young leaders in this country, are trying to pull people together. You need lots of hands to do the big job. And if you get enough people who volunteer, who are prepared to do things, without all these infighting things that are going on amongst some of these freedom groups, there's so much silly competition and arguments. You need to agree on one thing, is that you want to be free and you don't want to be brutalized by a government that is corrupt, okay? And if you agree on that, some of your minor disagreements can be agreed to be disagreed, and you can proceed as a larger group of people. Just have a look at what's happening in Paris and London. Look at a huge number of people. And look at Sydney's, the recent march over the Sydney Harbour Bridge. How many thousands of people turned up for that? Well, we're capable of doing this. We are capable of doing this. And we need young people like Tristan to organize this, to get people on the same side. They are only a few. The public are many. And if the few do not serve the public, they can be removed. Not violently. Just take away their mandates. They cannot rule anymore. But the real sinister people are not the politicians who you can remove with your vote. It's the public servants who hide in the shadows. Some of them are good people and they try to do the right thing. But there's a lot of pressure on them to support the governments, as we've seen in Victoria with Daniel Andrews. Corrupt police were supporting Daniel Andrews and he was supporting them. There's numerous complaints that have gone into the Police Complaints Authority in Victoria, all ignored. Why? Because the politicians need the cops to keep them in power, and the cops need the politicians to allow them to get away with murder. Okay? And they have been getting away with murder. So the point is, you gotta mobilize, not to get into conflict, that you gotta mobilize to show the system that the majority has to be served by the minority.
Yeah, that's it, Jerry. Yeah. Thank you very much, Jerry, and thank you for your words of wisdom. Now, in your experience and your professional advice, what can you tell the crowd here today? What's the best way, what's the best direction to take going forwards if we want to see positive change in this country?
Well, I think you got to put aside your difference and agree on what are the main issues and work together on them. I mean, that's ultimately what you need to do. And, you know, I'm happy to work with Tristan and some of the other groups and help them structure and organize your groups so that you are more effective.
All right, Jerry, thank you very much, brother. We'll talk to you after.
Okay, best of luck, and let's see if we can mobilize people to start looking after our own environment, away from these very, very toxic bureaucrats.
I agree. Round of applause for Jerry, guys, please.
Good. Speak soon again. Cheers.